Good morning, everyone, and welcome you here today to the Jackson County Board of Supervisors meeting for Tuesday, October 17th of 2023. It's a beautiful fall day. With me today is Don Schwenker, Wayne Schlegel, myself, Mike Steinitz are your county supervisors. Lisa is our county auditor, Bjorn is our IT director, Luann is our executive assistant taking care of us. Mary is here from the newspaper. And first on our agenda today is Mr. Todd Kinney, our county engineer. Good morning, Todd.
Good morning. Just got one item for the board is the motion to authorize the signature of the final plans for the HMA resurfacing project from Cottonville South. So where we stopped with this project this summer, south into Andrew, or just not into Andrew, but where it connects to 62. Scheduled for a January letting, 2.27 million is the estimate. And this brings us up to about 2.6, 2.7 years of borrow ahead. So that's putting us right up near the limit. It's a big project, kind of.
Yeah, and what would I recall what the north half cost us? Was that somewhere in the same?
I think it was just under 2, I think, if I remember right.
Okay. I mean, I've heard great things about it.
So we can get, I think, 3 years of borrow ahead. So
The pleasure of the board. Have a motion second to approve the project title sheet approval for the 250 overlay as presented. All those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
okay, and then when we get into 5-year programming again, we talked about it briefly, but we may do some tweaking with roads, moving some roads in and some roads out, because we talked about the Caves Road and a couple other roads. Maybe the north of Miles, I think, was one of them too. So we have our program, but that doesn't mean we can't move some roads up and move some roads back. So we can talk about that more at the 5-year program. And then just as a reminder too, the road maintenance foreman interviews, we're going to try and get those scheduled for Thursday and Friday of this week. So I believe Mike is
the last email, I didn't see a reply to timeframes. Are you guys scheduled yet? I didn't see that.
No, so I heard back from Becky, Jaden and Mike are available. So now I just need to have Stacy start making some calls and set them up. So the internal ones will be obviously a little easier to do, but the external ones will be more planning maybe. So
Okay.
That's it.
Appreciate it. Anything for Todd?
Good work, and yeah, we did, just, I guess we were talking a little bit, we did get a complaint about Moody Road, and you guys have addressed it. And
We're actively addressing it. It's gonna be a few days.
because it was just retrieved right before the rain, and that didn't help situation, so for the record, we're on it.
Just
It
by
might
the
be
end of the
one
week,
the best retrieved roads we got, well compacted, and by the time we're done.
we're gonna spend extra time. I mean, it needs it, and it's a pretty heavily traveled road too. I
Yeah.
mean, so it gets quite a bit of traffic. So especially closer you get to Miles and stuff. So
Right.
all right, thanks.
Thanks, Todd.
Yep.
Do we have any visitors or citizens today with us that would like to address the board? Seeing none here, seeing none on the Zoom. We will move on. Lisa?
Sure. This morning, I need a motion to approve the minutes of the October 10th, 2023 board proceedings as written by Deputy Auditor Hoy and authorized publication in the official newspapers.
So
Motion and a second to approve the minutes of the October 10th, 2023 board proceedings as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. You got speakerphone on or what do we got going on?
Todd's.
Oh. We need some insulation. Okay, where was I? Did we get that vote taken care of? No? All opposed, same sign? I heard the ayes. Motion carried. Thank you.
Need a motion to approve a Class B retail alcohol license to Tada Meats LLC at 18066 Highway 64, Macokota, effective December 14th, 2023 through December 13th, 2024. Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion, a second, and a second to approve the retail alcohol license to Tada Meats as LLC as presented. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Pose same sign. Motion carried.
I need a motion to approve invoices for $18,067.02 to Midwest Construction Consultants, Inc. $235,694.43 to Bill Bruce Builders, $28,500 to Kraus Plumbing and Heating, $175,548.60 to Giesler Brothers, $187,885.30 to Rock River Electric, Inc., $89,110 to Midwest Auto Fire Sprinkler, $480 to Tri-State Porta Potty, Inc., $34,234.50 to Clocky Excavating, $13,518 to Shucking Heating, and $1,224.10 to AT Disposal, for a total of $784,261.95, of which $570,884 was paid from the American Rescue Funds, and authorized the chair's signature on the project cost recap for the Law Enforcement Center for the month ending September 30th, 2023.
So move.
Motion, a second to approve the invoices as presented. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Pose same sign. Motion carried.
And that's all that I have for the board today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna back up slightly. We were just ahead of schedule a little bit, and Lori has joined us from our zoning administrator. Good morning, Lori.
Good morning. I hope I can keep you ahead of schedule. So this is gonna be one of those, you're gonna say. I did it fast.
All right.
So anyway,
This means, right?
I do. Anyway, so basically, I know it says department update, which last night, we says department update and Leisure Lake, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so I'll hit,
Nuisance violations, yeah.
can I hit the department update part before we get to the nuisance violation? Or whatever.
Go ahead.
Last night, we had a very productive but long, dry zoning commission meeting. We about 2 chapters of the comprehensive plan, 2 of the draft chapters, went through that. And we might have to have Mountain Dew at the next meeting to keep our commissioners awake. And then we also had some discussion on the wind energy conversion system ordinance. So they were really good. They went through it very well before they got to the meeting. They had their questions laid out, they had their concerns laid out. And I know what I have to start working on and trying to find other counties that have similar ideas that our commission had.
Just from what I heard, that is a contentious. One of the contentious things that's out there is that people are really concerned about it, so. I mean,
Well, then we
there's
just-
gonna be questions, and I'm
Yeah.
glad that they're spending the time to do that. you know, I
Right.
respect that from them,
Right,
so.
so it's just making sure we have a solid ordinance that balances the concerns on,
Right,
the concerns from property owners with them, property owners without them, and also meets the needs of the Jackson County taxpayers as a whole.
Mhm.
So, but we're not gonna end up like some of those other counties. We just don't have the terrain.
no, we don't,
But,
but,
so-
you know, I mean, it's still a concern for individuals that live close, if you will. I mean, we
Mhm.
don't know any of that yet, but
Right, we don't know.
again, we respect people's opinions, so.
We didn't have anyone from the
Yeah.
from the community, which I was told that was a possibility, but we haven't.
But I'm
But
glad that the board is actually dissecting it to a point where it's, you know.
they are,
they got like-
they are.
Okay.
And, okay. The Leisure Lake case. This is one of the properties that has a lot going on. Several lots, probably a dozen lots with everything together and a lot of stuff. They have made progress. There has been significant effort made but it's one of those that's taken a while. And also this guy's kind of one of those good neighbors that's helping other neighbors out with their nuisances and. You know, not always able to focus as much on his own, but there is effort being made. I can assure. you.
So what are we asking? Are you asking for enforcement or not asking for enforcement?
On this one, they're asking for an extension and,
Extension.
I
It
would
doesn't
say-
That here, so I did,
oh, you guys did get the email?
no, I don't think I got anything about an extension. I got something about enforcement, but maybe I didn't read it right.
No, we have two enforcements going to court, one this week, one next week, but this one is asking for an extension.
Okay, is this previously extended how many times?
It was previously extended once.
Once? Oh,
I
I'm
do
not
believe-
supposed to extend again if there's.
I don't think it's
progress. And we
twice.
said that.
I might be misspeaking. I didn't
Well,
get my stuff pulled out, but
again, I'm still at the
No,
point, my standing is that as long as there's considerable improvement being done. That we can visually see, or I don't have an issue with it, you know.
Good.
The weather's gonna creep up on us here pretty quick, so.
As long as there's a known start, a known endpoint and progress towards from one to the.
yeah, and I can assure you that it's not gonna be a 30-day. I mean, they'll still be making progress, but I know they won't be completed in 30 days.
Mhm.
I
Well,
can
I know it's
say
gonna be
that,
a lot more challenging as we get the next month or two into the season.
yeah,
If we get to the winter months, it's gonna get a lot harder, but.
but things can still progress,
Right.
but and instead of an extension to the end of November. Well, I guess that is 6 weeks away,
That
but
is 6 weeks. Yeah.
but anyway, whatever your judgment is.
I
if
think
you-
I thought we were sticking to
I
the
thought we
30-day
got- yeah,
extensions.
Let's stick to the 30 days, cause we
Okay.
don't want them to not do anything for 4 weeks, and then all of a sudden we start working on it again, and
Okay.
then.
Again, we're doing inspections weekly, bi-weekly.
We don't get out there that often.
So.
I was one-
I guess the point is that how do we know in 2 weeks there is improvement?
I'd have to go I haven't taken pictures of that one in a while even. But I can tell which way he's working. So I know what's not on that one corner and not in the middle and
So, I mean, we also have to justify to someone else who did not, or if we're going to court on another one, that we justified them an extension because there is improvement. Now, if you have no improvement, that's a
oh,
different
the
story.
two going to court have none.
None.
And then, yeah. None.
Okay, so was that a motion? Did I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion that we extend it for 30 to the end of November.
Second,
Have a motion?
What
Oh,
extending?
30 days or end of November?
Well, who are we extending?
Don Allers and Lisa Dalzing. I don't have I ran out of my office pretty quick.
So you're
10th
extending
Street.
till when, November?
right now,
Hang
they're
on.
good through the end of October, right?
No, they were good through the end of September.
Okay, so she hasn't brought it to the board before that, so are we going from the 30 days that she brought it to the board for the extension, or
Your motion was to the end of November.
your motion was, yeah, did you mean 30 days?
Would be the 17.
I would be good with the November 30th.
And that's what I would recommend to you guys.
Okay.
You okay with the
Yep.
original
Yep.
motion?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
yeah, I don't have an issue with that with the weather and whatnot, as long as again. If we can get out there and see visual improvement or take pictures.
I guess, yeah,
November 30th.
Laura, I'd like to see you kind of maybe in between now and the end of November, go around and maybe get an update of where everybody's at, that we.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we can kind of, get us kind of the before and
Okay.
where we're at now pictures.
Okay, and you guys know I was ready to just chomp at the bit and run and thought I could do it all like that. I was wrong.
Well, we know,
Um,
we actually know how that works, and we've been through this. before.
I was wrong, but at the same time, there is
Visual improvement. A lot
that,
of improvement.
and there's places that we haven't touched. And I hate to say this, but I don't know that realistically, I still have a lot of moving pieces out there with the first two groups. I'm not convinced, and this is hard for me to say, because I'm usually just charging like a bull, but I don't know that I should be going after those other areas at this time with enforcement
Well,
when
I
we
think
haven't completed.
coming into winter is going to make it tough. I
Well-
mean, that would be,
Coming from someone that went through this with the city and the rental inspection ordinance and all that kind of stuff. And I think you need to get through the whole group at least at once. Because
So
when you
still
look at-
keep
when you look at percentage of what got cleaned up,
a lot.
exactly. So if you can kind of hit the high points and clean a majority of it up, then you get back to the few problem spots that you can
Right.
focus on.
Well, otherwise we're picking and choosing.
Right.
Picking on, too.
Well,
Trying to
no.
Keep them fairly, you know.
Well, we were very concise in, grouping in our groups. It's not a here, there. It was this group. But I have at least 2 groups that haven't been touched and it's already,
I think you need to get through them all.
I think we proceed, I mean, slowly.
with
if
the
it will,
winter,
through
'cause
the
we're gonna have-
winter. Yeah, I get it, but, and
Okay.
then we'll take a look at what the situation is in the weather and whatnot. If we have good weather till middle of December. there's no
Even
reason why
even
they
if you
can't.
send notices out to the other 2, there's only 2 more groups.
yeah, but some of them are gonna be dandies.
Well, if you send
They are
notice
what
that,
they are.
you can send a notice out to them all, maybe the end of November. We put a halt on it, knowing we're coming March 1st. Hell or high water, whatever, cause and that will let them at least put them on notice. However you wanna run it, but I think we need to get through all the groups.
Oh, I know we do, and I didn't know if we're gonna let winter slow us down or not.
Yeah.
But, so you're saying have all the group, have the whole lake covered by the end of November?
No,
No,
I don't, however, I don't know how. you
Whenever your
proceed.
next group was projected to go out, let's get them out and
Yeah.
give them, but we'll take into consideration the weather and everybody's needs.
I mean, we may not
Well,
be
these
snow
last
all
2 groups,
winter
you
and
send
they
a
can get
notice
things
out.
cleaned up.
Yeah, you send a notice out to them now saying, hey, you
Wishful
guys are on the
thinking.
block as of March 1st, you're on the clock.
There's no burn ban
Yeah.
right now, by the way. So I'm gonna back up just slightly here before we have a conversation. I believe I have a motion on the table. Did I hear a second?
What was the motion?
To extend the extension to the end of November.
Yeah,
we did
I already
second.
seconded.
We didn't vote on it.
Okay.
So I have a motion and a second to extend to John Ayers and Lisa Dolzing, I believe what you said,
yes, sir.
till the end or November 30th.
Yep.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign, motion carried. All right, now we can still discuss if you like.
Okay. We like to have them when we do it, like end of the month, like 30th, 31st, or the 1st. So we will just put our nose to the grindstone, see what I can triage on the back burner and run. We will get ourselves out to Leisure Lake. Get more pictures of areas that we have not yet touched.
We'll keep moving along.
And
If it's slower, then it's slower, but we'll keep moving along.
did you want me to do 30 days on those? Like
However
normal?
you did, it needs to be consistent.
Got it, got it. Cause you
Again,
said
because as
something
they get
about
to court,
March.
that's gonna be looked at.
Oh,
Why
yeah.
did you go here? Why did you not go here?
Oh, I can
Give it-
explain that.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
got my map and here's how it goes.
There you go.
And, yeah, you can only do so
Just
much.
Be consistent.
Oh,
Went out just like you did the first 2 groups.
yeah, okay, well, we'll just hit the last 2 groups up at once.
Okay, anything else?
No. Oh, here, I did get an address of one that I couldn't serve and I know where he works, so we got one we're gonna get served.
There you go.
Yeah, oh man, email it to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
Good morning, goodbye.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
Good morning to her. I don't need any.
We're on the top of it here.
Woo.
All right, Luann, are you available? We're just buzzing right along here,
Yeah,
on overtime today.
good morning.
Good morning.
All right, we'll start with the supervisor's calendar this morning. This afternoon at 5 o'clock is a conservation board meeting at Hurstville for any of you that want to go to that. I think Nid usually goes to that. Wednesday, October 18th at 4 p.m. is the Veterans Affairs Commission meeting. That's downstairs in the conference room for any of you that want to go to that. Thursday, October 19th at noon is the Jackson County Area Tourism Association meeting by Zoom for any of you. And at 6 o'clock that night is the Limestone Bluffs RC&D meeting by Zoom for Don. On Saturday, October 21st at 11:30 a.m. is the Clover Ridge Fall Festival out at Clover Ridge for any of you that want to go to that. Monday, October 23rd at 4 p.m. is Early Childhood Iowa Council meeting. Intuit or by Zoom for Nin if she needs to go to that. Our next regular meeting will be on Tuesday, October 24th at 9 a.m. And as for the meetings that day, I'm not sure who got a hold of my calendar, but it was a mess. So there's no early childhood that day, no Veterans Affairs Commission that day. At 6:30 is Macocata River Watershed Management Authority, their annual meeting in Monticello. We're done, or any of you that want to go to that. And also from 1 to 3 that day is a REIT meeting in Dubuque for Mike.
Okay, was that new?
No,
Okay.
well, I think I had a different place on the calendar, but they moved it to a different date. It was
Okay.
originally gonna be on a different
I'll
date.
have to check. No, I have it in my phone, in my calendar. Okay,
Okay. The only thing I have on my agenda for business is a couple of agreements that we've been talking about. The first one is the Pine Valley Maintenance Agreement for Conservation.
so I don't know if either of you had a chance to talk to Nathan or.
I thought we were waiting to hear back about the indemnification clause from John.
Yeah, I stopped up and talked to John last week afterwards, and he was gonna check into that and talk to Nathan. I don't know if you guys touched base or not, but he was gonna touch base and maybe rewrite that so that some to the fact that, you know, for our liabilities are limited. He was also gonna check with Jennifer to see, to make sure that we were covered for liability, so. I don't know if he talked to you about that or not. Anyway, so we're still working on that, so that we're not gonna take any action on that yet that I can see.
Okay, the other item was the Head Start building lease for HACAP. And I know we've talked about that once or twice. Are we ready to take action on that lease?
Again, I talked to John about that, and I don't know if he talked to you about it. I know we were gonna try to make a list of. Like we did at the Andrew Jackson of whose responsibility is whose, and I don't think that has been
We
completed.
need to decide on your increase and
I
then.
thought it was 4% is, because you
never
guys were
voted
talking
on it,
about.
So that's why we didn't.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I think
Threw out 5, you threw out 4.
yeah, there was a 5 thrown out, there was 4, then she came back and said, can we cut it in half, and so. There was no action taken on it, but I have spoke to John about it, because I believe that. In the leases that we currently have and will be signing, we need to be very specific about who carries. You know, what responsibility, so.
Well, you know, we've talked about this before. We need to be a little more uniform probably in how we're doing this, and they all need to kind of read the same if that's the case, or. And I need to take some of his advice on that, so hopefully that he can get together and. Do we need to take a trip down there and say whose responsibility is whose here?
Well, I think that's just, we need to start drafting the lease. I mean, we have a lease now, but I want it to be more specific about,
Yeah,
you know, who, as an example, if there was the refrigerator, that's a good example. You know, it's their refrigerator, it's not ours. We don't share it 50-50 like we do at the care facility. I don't personally, I don't understand why we're paying for a washing machine at the care facility. And I know it's in our lease. So this is what I'm talking about.
you know, there's something to that, I guess, you know, they use it for their operation. Is it part of the building?
I mean, I get the
what is
water heater.
supplied?
I might even get the kitchen sink. I just don't understand an appliance. And we have well,
Well,
technically, we don't have a lease. We don't have a current lease on Jackson Care, which is something else that we need to.
Okay,
get
well,
short of.
let's discuss that when we get to it here. Let's decide on
we
the.
need
head
a
start.
work,
With the
a
HACAP.
lease work session.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah, with
Yes.
the
John.
HACAP, seemed like according to them, they've been paying for if they wanted new cabinets or cupboards, or they were
They've
paying.
been covering their.
That was part
updates.
of the reason I was like, you know what? You know, the difference between the Head Start building or the senior center and HACAP is senior center, we have to pay for a lot of the stuff. We have to do the maintenance on the furnace. if ACAP's doing that, we should at least reward them a little bit because of the extra expenses we're not incurring. And that's why I was suggesting maybe a 4% is a little bit of, save them a little bit of money. Just because of the fact, a lot of their upgrades they're doing themselves.
We still are in kinding them X amount of dollars.
Yeah.
Right? So,
Yeah.
It's minimal,
Right.
I
So I-
believe with Nin though, I think we really do need to have a work session concerning some leases that we have and that we should have.
Yeah.
I think I'm looking at one in particular that I think we need to get going on, get working on. And
Rather than later.
yes, please.
Yes, and standardize our approach so that it's not starting from.
Like
when you
Andrew
realize
Jackson
that-
Care, I'm wondering if, like the washing machine wasn't in there because when they took over, there was probably one there.
That's why we just need to sit down. We need to
You
talk
know.
about it. Since we don't have a lease at Andrew Jackson Care, we have a very long-term lease for the building, the senior citizen building through NEI 3A. So, I mean, that's why we need to kind of take a look at it, spell it out. I will tell you that this morning I can see a work order came in that the furnace isn't working at the senior center. So, I believe that is our expense.
So that's part of the building, I would
Yeah.
say, yeah.
So that's why I would like to see us clarify and make sure that there's no question marks.
Well, I know that NEI 3A was, they called us down there once because they want to renegotiate the contract on me. Yes, so.
Yeah, so I guess
30.
we need to actually put it on for a work session, maybe even ready next week. Yeah, I would do that, and we could get
Yes.
together with John, and if we need to take a trip down there. It might be like you said, we said before, we need to take a tour.
Well, this lease that we don't have that I'm thinking that we need, I also would like to invite our insurance agent to the table because I did make a phone call. And there's some very interesting things that we may need to consider if you enter into a lease. So that's why we need to have a work session. I believe we need to invite our insurance representatives to the table to discuss things.
No, we certainly need to get it out on the table and make a
Yeah.
decision, so I mean, we don't intend to just kick the can down the road, but we need to have a work session and decide then, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so we will actually not take any action on that Head Start lease building or.
Do we plan for a work session that
Yep,
Next
Every
week.
week.
I can put it on the next week, yep.
it doesn't look like? There's too much.
So I don't know what you have for other business.
No, that was it.
Okay, so, I mean, we talked about the Andrew Jackson lease and I did talk to Todd.
Okay.
Last week or the week before, and we discussed that we were still working on it, whether we could. And I called him and he's willing to do a 5-year lease. So, and I said, well, that sounds a little long to me. I think it should be reviewed in a couple of years if it will be. So I did send him a message yesterday and the day before and said, we'd like to do a lease. I think 5 years is too long, and I would throw it past my colleagues here, what they think. And I said, what about a minimal increase? And he must not read that part real close, but he said it's all good by me. And I said, okay, so how much is the minimal increase? He says, 0. What's your thoughts? And I said, well, I was thinking somewhere in the neighborhood of 3%. He said, and it took a little while, but he actually come back and said, let's do 2%, call it good. So I did talk to some other people in the industry, and he said, you're very lucky if you're gonna get that from them because of the fact where the money is coming from has been not real good. So, I mean, as far as the state level is.
My business is 5-year leases with termination clauses.
Well, there's 60 or 90-day clauses in there anyway, so, but I don't know that we can't review it in 2 years or 3 years anyway. I don't mind a 3-year lease if we got a 2% increase.
But then I think you need to also consider then if you want to keep all of those other things in the lease. So I.
Yeah, I mean, we
can
can look at each item, I guess, that way. I mean, that'll be we could have that in the work session too, and discuss that lease. I wasn't making any decisions today.
No,
I just wanted to let you know I talked to him and that's what the proposal is on the table, so.
I think that's for good discussion.
Okay. Is that it?
That's it.
Oh, okay. Anybody else have any reports or discussion?
The Coker River Water Management Authority's going along. We just landed a $250,000 cover crop grant, and they're trying to get the the nuts and bolts of that settled in, so they can maybe start implementing it next year. You'll notice around the county, you'll see some watershed signs that have been put up where you enter when you enter the Macocota watershed, so there's a few things going on there. And, coming up, you see, like, tonight or Thursday, I have a Limestone Bluff. I did get an email that the director of Limestone Bluffs, she submitted a resignation, she accepted a full-time job here at the Macocota Art Experience, so. Between the Water Management Authority and Limestone Bluffs, there was some negotiating on different things, and I don't know how the dynamic's gonna change. So it'll be interesting.
Okay, well, keep us updated on that if you would, and yeah, I know you were talking about some finances with one of them too at one time, right?
Well, the Limestone Bluff is the fiscal agent for the Water Management Authority, and we're kind of renegotiating the terms of the contract. And that's really, but I just want to throw a shout out to Together We Build for an awesome side-by-side ride Saturday. Was well participated, you know, a lot of fun, got to see a lot of different things about Jackson County, so.
It was well attended, yeah, and there was good representation there from all around the county and
Drove a lot of gravel roads and they were
they were in nice
98%
shape,
dry,
yeah.
except for maybe one over in the east.
They had a little music and they had a little fun
Yeah.
and all was good.
They had their meeting last night that I attended. They wanted to thank you, Mike, for your kudos to them. Just a few things. They are doing a pie order this year, a little bit different than what they did last year to keep their fundraising going. You gotta have your pie orders in by the 1st of November and they can be picked up the Monday before Thanksgiving. They are good pies. I've had them before, so. They've had the side by side as a fundraiser. Their garage sale went very well for them that they had as a fundraiser, and their leftover stuff, they donated, I believe it was to Camp Courageous. So kind of a double dual giving there, which I thought was very, very good. They still got their tile sales going on. They're actually looking at tentatively, obviously, but the grand opening around Christmas time.
Wow.
So,
Heard they're moving along really well,
Yeah.
so that's good news. That's a really nice facility.
so,
I think that how it all come about and most of it's all donated funds, so.
Yeah.
it's,
I mean, they're still working on, they got a very large donor who's kind of doing a matching grant, so that's all their fundraising they're doing right now is kind of going
Matching
towards
grant.
trying to get that matching grant.
To get my tile purchased. then.
Yeah,
Yep, they're asking the donor because I'm assuming they must have had a deadline on that time frame. And they do believe they'll extend that for them because they didn't get, so their tile sales, some of it is they're now pushing out to the 4-H clubs to reach out to people in their communities. To get the tile sales going bigger, so they're hoping that their matching grant will extend out a little bit since they didn't get their big push on their tile sale going quite as quickly as what they expected, so. But yeah,
so it's ongoing for them and I give them a lot of credit for keep plugging away. It's been 3 years probably since we started this project and again, well worth it. Hopefully we see the finish line coming.
Good.
Had a waste authority meeting yesterday, and wasn't a lot of good news in that one. Our testing and everything has gone well, that's passed, and the landfill and the transfer station, everything is passed. Our 2017 truck was having a large amount of emissions issues whenever they were driving it, and they took it in, and of course it needs an overhaul, so. Was unexpected, so it's an unexpected expense, but they need the truck, so we do have a new one on order, but again, we were lucky to even get on the list to have one on order, it's just the way the world is today, it's hard to compete, and it ain't like you can negotiate either, like, you either want it or don't want it, so. Yeah, it's all business in progress, and again, we're talking about, reviewing the rates as they are, we haven't done that, we did last year once a little bit, but we still have to keep up with it. Time, so otherwise, yeah, it was okay. They're going through their process and they're still busy, so Otherwise, I don't think I have anything else. At this time, we'll take a short recess. And we will reconvene at this time, and then Jack Willie and then Bolts are here from the MS Mental Health Division.
Yesterday, they gave us the region's report and the audit. And that
Is this the same one that come in the email that I started through? That was a lot of pages.
I don't know if Lori emailed out the audit. It's the FY 22 audit, so it is arriving pretty late. The way David Farmer explained that yesterday, when part of the reason it took so long this year was this audit for that fiscal year was the year that the funding that was available to regions was blended. It was part county property tax dollars and part state dollars. And so they also had to, Baker Tilly is the company who does the audit for the region. And they had to work with the counties for their completed audits and weave all that into Baker Tilly's final report.
So normally in an audit like that, they give you a summary page. Is there a large amount of red flags? No?
I don't think there's a lot of red flags.
No, I think there were maybe two areas that were mentioned. Baker Tilly was present for the meeting virtually, just for like a 5-minute presentation. Actually, I think I don't know if it's one of the pages of the book that you handed him, but there was a summary of Baker Tilly's
Yep.
findings, and there were two areas that they really thought were, I don't even know what, I can't tell you what the areas were, but he
They're
indicated
highlighted here.
that they
And
were.
one of the other things that he said was, one of the reasons it was a little late was one of the counties, they didn't get the information.
Right,
In a timely fashion, but they refused to tell what county it was, but I'm sure it wasn't Jackson, so.
Wasn't us,
mm-mm.
wasn't us. We had
And
our audit done in plenty of time.
yeah, and I think the two areas that were highlighted are areas that he said next year really would not even be a factor because of all the funding coming from the state. So there was nothing that was noted in particular.
No.
So prior to the governing board meeting, the Adult and Children's Advisory Committee met. And our representatives on that committee from Jackson County are Holly Palmer and Susie Rohowski from Imagine the Possibilities. Holly wasn't able to be there, but Susie was there. And much of the information that Lori shared at that meeting is very similar to the information that was presented at the governing board meeting. So we did meet yesterday. I don't think you weren't able to be there, right? I
Well,
I
I
didn't
asked
want
her-
to overlook.
I
Okay.
asked her last night. I
Oh,
said if
okay.
She was able to get in and she said no. She
Oh, you
tried-
couldn't get in?
She tried several times and I said, well, we were at a different location and usually you can see who's on.
Right.
And I said, I looked several times and I thought, oh. And then maybe wasn't able to get on because it was a different location and we couldn't see any names of people other than
Right.
Richard Whitaker. We saw his picture there, but we couldn't see who was zooming in.
So I'll mention that to Lori today, just so she's aware, and because we will be meeting at the same location in November as well. So some of the standard information that was shared was the outcome of the FY 23 fund balance. And if you remember, the target was to be at 20% or less. We ended at about 31%, 32%. So we're about $1.5 million over in cash amount in what we had in our fund balance carryover from FY 23 into FY 24. And so when we get our third quarter payment, which comes before the 1st of January, they will reduce that $2.5 million payment by about 1.5 million. And then the fourth quarter payment will be back to the usual amount from the state. Projection currently for this current fiscal year, we're at about, I forget now exactly what it was, about 50%.
Did you say 50 or 15?
50.
So actually 31% is a lot better than they thought.
Yes, it is. We ended up better than we anticipated. There was a lot of discussion about how to manage the funds this year because we're still at 50%, although there still are some larger claims that they're waiting to have turned in.
And they did say yesterday from Robert Young Center that the last bill period was 1.1 million.
Yeah, their payment, they receive a monthly allotment of about 750,000, but they had some additional claims, and so their payment was a little bit higher for the month of September. By June 30th of 2024, the regions are to be at 5%. So we have even more work to do, yeah. So there was quite a bit of conversation about one-time funding, which is something that is included in the 2080 agreement. So Lori presented some financial information about year-to-date expenditures and where are we at, because it looked like we will have some money that we might need to make available for one-time funds. The reason it's being referred to and looked at from the perspective of one-time funds is we're not really in a position to help agencies start up new programs that will need continued funding for the region, from the region for sustainability into the future fiscal years. We just need to look at, are there things that agencies need now and it's a one-time expense, so we don't become obligated to have to provide funding to that same agency for the same program in future years.
So I guess, yes, they talked about the board, then they discussed the possibility of, they were talking about maybe looking at some requests after the first of the year, but then the board yesterday thought that they should start in December, give them some guidelines as to what we might be looking at. And so she's gonna draft a letter to send out to all of the providers of services, you know, giving them a heads up that we're possibly going to be doing this one-time funding. And she also said the one-time funding had to be on core services.
That was the kind of the parameters that we have used in the past, that'd be only used to fund services that we're required to have available, or additional core, which are services that are the next tier that if regions have money there to fund.
So really wanting core, but she said there would be some funding for core plus.
Mhm.
So I don't know how many times have we talked about this, Jack, but you know, we talked about spending money just to spend money, you know, and do you anticipate that? Are other regions having the same fund balance, that it will come up in legislation again? To extend the fund balance, not down to 5%, or?
Like,
You know, when you've got, it's a one-time spend. To me, that doesn't do justice for doing a program and sustaining a program or whatever it may be. I don't know. Maybe I'm looking at it wrong.
I did see yesterday, I believe, it was in an email that I received on ISAC, send it out on the legislative priorities across the span for the 2024 legislative session. And I believe one of those priorities that's available for county boards to vote on is increasing that fund balance from 5% to 10%. So I do think
I
it,
did see it too, but I didn't go through the priorities, so.
yeah, I happened to glance at them and pulled out only the ones obviously that would pertain to, you know, the mental health regions. So that is in there. Now, we all know that's been on the table the last, I believe, 2 legislative sessions. But it sounds like it'll come up again.
There are so many things unknown right now. Last Thursday, I was in Woodward for the Health and Human Service Council meeting, and they hired MHA
HMA,
and
health
HMA, an outside
consulting
firm that looked at Iowa and what we were doing and all of that. And Director Garcia said she got the report early in the week of last week, and it was hundreds of pages. And so I was talking to Lori before the advisory committee meeting started, and told her that's what she had said. And then during the meeting, Lori said that the CEOs of all the regions met in Des Moines on Thursday, or Zoomed in, or were
No,
they
it was
there?
in person.
They were in person, but Director Garcia was at our meeting in Woodward. And she was talking about meeting with her, and I thought, now how in the world could she be in Woodward and meeting with them also? But I was said something to Lynn this morning, and she said, well, she zoomed in. The rest of them were all there, but she zoomed in. But we don't really know what's in that report and what all is gonna be entailed. It's really kind of scary as to what might happen in the future, because it's not just them, it's ECI, it's iSmiles, it's the senior programs, it's everything that they looked at. And now they're going to make they made recommendations, and now we'll have to review those recommendations to see what's gonna happen. And we were basically told from the report is that it's gonna be probably passed by the legislature with very little discussion. So we're really concerned.
So stay tuned, because as much as you thought that things were up in the air before when we went here, this is probably in all of my years here, even has the potential to be more the largest change I will ever have seen, in keeping in mind that change included when we went from property taxes to state funding and where we're at today. Yeah, it's very interesting. This entity that came in, we've mentioned it before, and you might have even have heard about it through county public health as well. They looked at 19 different entities in the state, and one of them was local governmental public health. So I don't know if you would have heard about it on the health board at all, but I was at I attended a town hall meeting, and most of the people that spoke at that town hall meeting were actually representatives of county mental or public health. Now, they were counties that provided more public health in terms of services. For example, Cedar County still has a pretty active mental health or public health department, and they actually do public health services and nursing services through the county. Just Jackson County used to do that, but it was years ago.
Right.
So they are one of the other entities that was very vocal about these changes that are coming. Lori indicated that what the CEOs were told was there will be changes. That is definite. Like Jack said, it's going to pass through the legislature, and this is probably something that they're going to get done early in the legislative session. They don't really know what the changes are.
And they don't know whether the Health and Human Service Department will present the legislators with the bill, or if it'll come directly from the governor's office.
There will likely be what will be lead agencies, which will oversee services across what they're calling the lifespan. So from newborns to time of death. Lori indicated that silos would be removed. And so I'm thinking what she's thinking is, like, currently we have NEI 3A largely working with the elderly population, and we've got early childhood with the 0 to 5, and we've got DCAT with the children's regions. They're not happy with what some of the regions have been doing. They meaning HHS, Health and Human Services. So some of the regions have been on board and putting things into place, and others are lagging behind. Some regions work in very low populated areas, and Lori's anticipating the number of mental health regions will change. But Lori was very clear to say that, Director Garcia was very clear to say that if you don't like this, or you don't want to be a part of this, you need to look for a different job, because there will be changes. So,
And one of the things that she said out at the Health and Human Service Council was the reason they were doing this is because a lot of the regions were not providing the services that they needed to provide. And I specifically asked if there was one particular area, and she said, yes, crisis services. They're not on board providing crisis services. And I thought to myself, for the last 2.5 years, that's been one of the main thrusts for Eastern Iowa region, was creating and providing crisis services. So I didn't ask her, but I wanted to say, you can't possibly be talking about Eastern Iowa, because we're spending a fortune on crisis services.
yeah. Another message that Director Garcia imposed to the CEOs was that regions need to operate as one entity region. not individual counties. And we've all moved towards that by pooling our funds and things like that, but I'm taking from that counties are no longer really the verbiage that's gonna be used in these discussions, and it's gonna be these regions. They will be probably realigning a lot of regions. Not just mental health, but some of the other regions, and maybe consolidating some of the providers of the different services under this lead agency, which will potentially maybe be given a block grant of money. And then that lead agency is responsible for providing the funding from that block grant to the individual types of services that are available.
So as you look what happened to Iowa Workforce Development and how there were county offices, and now that's gone to
An 8-county
Sorry.
region.
Yeah, they went regional. Now the only place you can really go besides a computer in the library is to talk to somebody is Davenport. Do you see that maybe down the road a little bit, where, you know, where we have somebody in
Well,
each county?
Jim Irwin spoke a couple times.
Yeah.
On different things, and one of the things he talked about was Iowa workforce. And he said, and he looked at me and he says, Jack, do you think that this is gonna be as disastrous as Iowa workforce has become? And I said, well, it certainly could be.
Well, and the issue is those people in them crises don't necessarily have. They don't have the modes to get 3 miles, no less to get 30 miles.
And that was one of
You know.
the, right, that was one of the examples that public health agencies were giving in this town hall meeting was, again, my fear with all of this is rural Iowa is really going to suffer. Because that so many things are based on centers of population and robust services. But everybody in all of Iowa deserves access to those services, and the more you regionalize and the further away you get from counties. That really is potentially who's gonna suffer in the end. And they talk about, you know, we have to provide services to the most vulnerable populations. Well, vulnerable populations live in rural Iowa,
That's right.
you know, so
They
yeah.
don't have the same access to the services that the
Right.
people in the urban areas have. And I know when I went out to the ECI, town hall meeting in Des Moines, we talked a lot about it, and I said, we're just Clinton and Jackson, are we gonna be swallowed up by Dubuque or swallowed up by Scott County for ECI? And no answers were given, but there was a huge number of people at that meeting. And I'll tell you, the people were not happy. In fact, the one man said, he says, is this a decision that just the Queen makes, or is it something that will be debated and discussed? And of course, Kelly Garcia looked at him and she says, well, if you're referring to me as the Queen, it's not something I will make on my own. She was a little upset with him. But, you know, that's what that's what everybody in there was thinking, you know, is this a done deal and we have to just go? And that was another thought I had about, you know, is the Health and Human Service Council going to have an opportunity to at least discuss some of these changes? Well, so far, we haven't had an opportunity to discuss them.
Well, technically, then you can almost argue, what's the point of the council? If you
Yeah,
guys are-
yeah.
You know, that's the purpose of a council, is to give input and opposing opinions and come up with a.
Well, it's just like last week when I was out there, it was supposed to be the first face-to-face meeting for the new console.
Mhm.
And out of the new console, there were 5 of us there, everybody else zoomed in. And I think after driving 3.5 hours out and 3.5 hours back, I was a little upset because I thought that was going to be an opportunity. And you know, you can't have the same dialogue over the Zoom that you can have face to face. It's impossible.
Well, I'm gonna go back a little further than that, well, I mean, at one point, we implemented, or we're supposed to implement a child or adolescent program that I don't know that ever got off the floor, did it?
the children's residential services, crisis residential
Well, I
services.
mean,
and
the crisis
community day.
services or even the study or the screening part of it that, you know, I know the screening, some of that's done. But I don't know there's anything ever done after, I mean, I know a lot of screening done in the schools.
Right,
And they
That's where that
identify,
challenge to change.
yeah, they identify the issues, but then it stops there, it doesn't go any further.
well, and you were probably involved in those conversations with Early Childhood Iowa meetings or DCAT.
You know, I don't remember where it come out of, yeah, I would probably say the DCAT, yeah.
Yeah, and I can't say that the state has identified one standard screening tool to be used for one specific age of people at some point in their either preschool or early school years. Those are examples of what I think the state is looking at and saying, we're so disorganized, we have so many things going on, and I think they're hopeful that this kind of lead agency, kind of state-driven will help unify some of those things. Now, whether or not that happens or not, I'm not sure. You know, and the other thing that was kind of interesting was, so this hundreds of page report from what Director Garcia told the group that Jack was at is available, and it will be summarized, I'm sure, to less pages. But some of those things in that report, the state is going to use as they respond to the federal government about an investigation that the Department of Justice has done over the last 2 to 3 years regarding some allegations of treatment at Glenwood Resource Center, which is now being closed. And they're also going to use some of the information from this report in response to a lawsuit that was filed against the state and named in particular Director Garcia, of families of children who are alleging that the state is not doing what they need to be doing to provide services to children.
She did tell us at our meeting last week that that lawsuit had been settled. She didn't explain anything else, but she said it had been settled.
Yeah, there was a notice that came out from HHS and again, they kind of deferred some of the corrective action plans or settlement would be handled by the regions. So I think she was not too happy to be named in the lawsuit by name.
And as Lynn said, the hundreds of pages, and that's what Director Garcia said, that the report was hundreds of pages, and she said she would have a report out by the end of October. And I just kind of looked at her, I says, is it gonna be 100 pages or hundreds of pages? She says, well, it won't be hundreds of pages, but it'll be a thorough report to report back to give us. I mean, we have no idea as a region for that or ECI, what our future is. And so we're all very anxious to see what that report says and what their recommendations are. Because it can change the whole scope of everything that we're doing at the present time.
Well, and some of that gets a little scary when you're putting newborns to the elderly. You know, so Scott County may not have an issue with the younger population that we do here in rural Jackson County, you know, type of deal, so.
Mhm.
You know, the fundings and all that may not get centered. Correct.
Yeah, it might not be distributed all out to all the areas where it needs to be. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I just think there's a lot of concerns and I think they're using words like holistic approach and the lifespan and, you know, some, I think verbiage that we're probably gonna start hearing a lot more of in terms of lifespan. But on this list of agencies, I mentioned public health, but I see environmental health was also included. What this entity did was they came in, from what I understand, is they met with these in stakeholder groups with all these different areas of interest and talked about where does your funding come from and what population do you serve and what services do you provide. Community action programs were also a part of that, as well as ECI and DCAT and mental health regions. And so it touched, when I look at the list, it touched everybody from all the different ages throughout a lifespan. And we'll see what they come up with.
And you know, on both of the advisory board for children and the advisory board for adults, we have openings that haven't been filled, and one of them is the individual representing children's behavioral health, and the other one is an individual who is a parent of a child who utilizes children's services. And in the other one, it's an individual who is a parent of a child, an individual representing children's behavioral health. They want a pediatrician and an individual representing child care providers. So those openings are still open. They've been open for several months, and we've been trying to recruit, but it hasn't been successful. In fact, Lori asked us yesterday, do any of you know a retired pediatrician? Or one that just works part-time? Because, you know, we do like to have their input at our meetings so that we can hear both sides of everything.
Mhm. So, well, once again, stay tuned. I think I've used that closing comment before when I've sat in this chair, and I'll keep using it. So you want some good news?
Sure.
Yesterday was the first day of the co-responder position. She is the person who rides along with law enforcement and works with law enforcement. She was part-time, and then yesterday she became full-time. So for her, what that means is working Monday through Thursday with law enforcement. I saw her yesterday. She is the lady that uses the office in the Penrose Annex building. And she was there yesterday for a little while, so I talked to her for a couple of minutes, and she was commenting about how law enforcement throughout the entire county, including the municipalities, you know, have embraced her availability and have used her. So that is a good thing. And I think that's all I have.
And her name is?
Yeah, I was gonna say, can I put a name to that person?
Sure, Brianna, Romali. I'm not sure I'm saying her last name.
We have two Briannas over there, correct? Am I
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yes, yeah, Brianna Kirk is the VA director, so. Oh, I guess one other thing you might have noticed on your agenda, I think there was an item listed under Jack and I about MOU action and discussion, possible action. Yesterday at the governing board meeting, this MOU was written with the intent of and we already had one in place for FY 23, but we realized that there was an end date on that one and it needed to be renewed for FY 24. And it's what allowed the counties to submit claims to their mental health region for reimbursement, which the auditor's office does on a monthly basis. But at the governing board meeting yesterday, the board discussed it further, and they really felt that an MOU was not necessary to facilitate that reimbursement. It could be done under a service contract. And so that is taken off of your agenda forever at this point anyway. And they will just, Lori's just gonna look at developing a proposed contract for services to just outline that reimbursement back to the counties from the region's fund. So that's all I have.
I think that was enough. But
Well-
I guess, you know, after this report comes out, there will be a lot of headaches, I think, and a lot of discussion.
I just look at it, you say hundreds of pages, you know, how hundreds of pages report goes, you read about half of it and you go, boy, it says the same thing 3 times, but. You know, maybe that's not the case, and you can highlight points in there, but that really.
What I'm assuming they'll take
Yeah.
each one of the groups that's on the list and have something about early childhood, something about I Smile,
Summary
something
too,
about
yeah.
about what changes they see with that. I hope it's just not a blanket, this is what we're gonna do. Because I don't think that's gonna work.
No.
So I'm anxious to see it. Take a long time to read it and review it.
We'll take a summary report of that, yeah.
Lynn and I'll summarize it for you.
Yeah. Yeah, so stay tuned. It appears that things will begin to look different after the 1st of July.
Well, we appreciate that, the time and effort you put into that, you guys, and stay with it if you can.
We'll do the best we can.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you. See what you missed yesterday?
No
She's,
problem, Joe.
she says this way, today she'd have some surprises.
Yeah.
Since she couldn't listen.
Thank you. Have a good day.
No kidding.
How are you doing?
You're on the hot seat, John.
You.
Are you alone?
Yes, I am.
I see Jeremy pounding steaks this morning or something, didn't it?
No,
Oh, he's from Florida.
Oh,
Jeremy's in
somebody
Florida.
was on one side of the building, looked like you.
He's on vacation this week in Florida and he can't.
Oh, that ain't working now.
So I'm on site just screwing everything up. So when he gets back, he has something to do. There you go.
So Mr. John Hanson, with Midwest Construction is here to give us an update on the extension building and the law enforcement center. Good morning.
Good morning. So the building's secured. They got the doors shut when the horses got out, so the building is secured now and locked. The grading's all done on the east side and it's seeded and it's come up well. Might have to mow sometime. The additional storms completed. Security doors are being set and wired, all the conduits run to them. Electrical rough-ins complete in the admin and probably 90% complete in the correctional area. The electrical panels are being installed and power connections are being completed. HVAC ductwork is being installed. Exhaust fans are being set on the roof. Overhead doors are installed, the aluminum storefront and windows are all installed. Precast is sealed. Front paving's all completed at this time. The north paving is being completed. They're setting that up as we speak. And that will be completed probably by tomorrow. Plumbers, water line rough-ins complete in administration. And the pipes are being insulated. The lines have been tested up front, so the drywallers are finishing up in the admin area. The metal studs are all complete at this time, both in the admin and correctional. And drywall's being completed in the admin right now, and then they're gonna work on the correctional areas. So everything's coming along pretty good over there right now. Just trying to button up all the outdoor activities before snow starts coming. I mean, cool weather's hit us already. So,
Did you guys get a chance to look at those downspouts that drain onto the sidewalk on the
I'm gonna
administrative
get that
side?
taken care of. I talked to Jason Claver.
Mhm.
I'm gonna have him suck that out and then we're gonna put a steel plate, a diamond plate on, a 1/4-inch diamond plate on it. So we can get them under and onto the paving. So that's being completed. I thought that would have been on the civil plans, but it wasn't, but we'll get her done.
When you say the building has been secured, I drove by this morning and I see like barn door latches and plywood doors. Is that secured or is that?
Well, there's padlocks on them.
Okay.
I don't care what you put on the building, it keeps an honest person honest. I mean, you gotta understand who we're dealing with. They took a clipboard and had the key for the toolbox, the workbox.
Now, don't give them any clues.
They unlocked the padlock, but couldn't figure out how to open up the toolbox, so.
Okay.
So,
Have you had conversation or with the solar people lately? We have talked about putting it on the utility building and evidently that's not going to work, so they're back
why
making
isn't
plans.
it gonna work? I mean.
Well, they tell me it's not structurally made for that and there is not enough room on that building for it.
Oh, the blue solar says there's not enough, or blue sky says there's not enough room on it.
This guy says there's not enough room on it and the construction, if it's Wick Building, said that that building was not designed for that weight. And then somebody else tells me that-
All the time.
Yeah, I mean, they tell me that they're designed for a snow load of 25 pounds per square foot and the solar panel equals 2.5 pounds per square foot, so I don't know.
2.5. 25 pounds.
The snow load capacity of that roof is supposed to be 25 pounds per square foot,
And
That's what it's designed.
solar panels are 2.5.
I'm telling you.
2.5 pounds.
Yeah.
Well, that leaves you 23 pounds.
I know it leaves.
Maybe you guys need to talk.
So, well,
Talk to, that was you guys.
no, the last time I talked to Blue Sky, I told him, you better put an email together and get a hold of whoever concerned here, for going back on that roof, because we were anticipating that we were going on
Well,
the
didn't they recommend moving it over to the shed?
Yeah.
utility building, yes. So,
Originally, it was supposed to go, we applied for a variance to move the building out into the road with the city. I applied for a variance, and that's why the steel building and also the other building could move out closer to the road, because we're actually closer than the setback limits were, because it was originally planned to put the solar panels
On
on
the
the
east.
ground on the east side, which allowed for more flexibility, is my understanding, and I'm not a solar expert. You know, that they could, shift the panels easier. And I think that Blue Sky needs to take a look at that roof situation up there. I mean, there's gonna be a ton of units and stuff up there they're gonna have to work around, rooftop units, vent pipes.
well, they were supposed to be down here and they were supposed to have a plan made, and the last I heard from them was probably 2 weeks ago.
I know that Jeremy talked to him. But that they met on site,
Mhm.
and I gave him the electrician's name and number. I know they've been in touch with electricians, because I'm not sure how they're pulling all this together, or what equipment or what changes need to be made, to accommodate them. And they're supposed to be that Tyler
Yeah,
with Blue Sky was supposed to be, has been in touch with electricians. So I'm assuming that they're coordinating amongst themselves on that. Tyler talked to me originally and said that he felt there was enough room on that roof, on the steel building to do it. After we hit all that rock out there, I don't know if that's an option to put it on the ground. I don't know why it ended up on the roof, I guess, of the existing building. I know that was never your intent, Mike,
Right.
that was never our intent at that time. But
Did you guys get the air conditioners or whatever units up on top? You were waiting for.
they got the exhaust fans set, and air conditioners, the other rooftop units are sitting in the shed.
Okay.
They're supposed to be setting them. I couldn't wait for them any longer. That's why the paving's going in. They'll have to make arrangements, get a bigger crane to set them, but my understanding is they're supposed to set them next week or two. They're trying to get some of the interior above ceiling stuff done. So that we can put them out of those areas, so that the finishes can continue and stuff in that particular area. Cause I'm trying to push everybody out of there, by end of November, beginning of December, so that we can't get the locks, so that's what's pushing the schedule back. But I don't wanna get into it with these contractors if the union raises rates here in December. I don't wanna get back into that situation with them. So I'm trying to get everybody pushed along there. And they're supposed to set them units, the plumber's trying to catch up inside now. But I need gas mains up there, so the gas main is to the building. I just need to get it extended up to the units on the roof. So I'm working with Mason Kraus on that and such. And they're coming along pretty good over there, but there's a lot of work to do in that building.
Okay.
But as well as I do, we're gonna need goddamn heat pretty soon.
Yeah.
yeah.
Cause the painters and everybody else, even the drywall finishers are saying,
No, I talked to Jeremy because I saw the high school was shut down for 2 days, putting new units on top of the roof, and they had cranes, and I'm like, well, they're in town, you tag them to come over?
I tell you what, I wish it worked like that. Doc. Because it's like herding cats some
Yeah.
days, you know, everybody has a different idea and they're, you know, it seems that today's mode is we need to do one thing at a time and we need multiple activities going on at a time, so.
Okay.
If you don't push, they won't go as quickly, you know, if they know something's gonna screw them up and slow them down, then they usually push, but, John, Girdles, he did Al McKee for us and he's been working with me and Jeremy pretty well to try to make sure he knows what needs to happen first for the HVAC. And he's at the mercy of project managers and stuff, of course, with Geisler. But he's pushing to get those units put up here in the next week or two. I'm hoping the weather turns around a little bit for everybody.
Oh, I think we might have a little time yet, but
Yeah.
again, like you said, it's gonna, another month, it ain't gonna be so predictable.
Yes.
So hopefully that works out for you. We like good reports.
Yeah.
I will touch base with Blue Sky again and see where they're at. I know they were supposed to. He had given me some information. I said, that's not for me, that's for all of us and for you. And so whatever you got for information to pass it along.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I mean, if he wants to talk to us or he wants to go up on that roof, I mean, the ladders and everything are installed. He can get up there and look if he wants to. It's just. If it were my building, I'd be concerned about putting it up there, cause what they're gonna have to do is put put walk pads, like a extra pad down. And then they're gonna wanna go up there and they're not gonna wanna attach to that roof, they're gonna wanna set concrete blocks or something on it. You really don't wanna screw through that membrane. For a potential
Yeah, I would
leak.
agree.
And if he doesn't think he has enough room on that building, the steel building to put them on. He might wanna take a stronger look. I gave him a whole set of plans, so they're aware of what's gonna be up there.
So that's another conversation, at some point. I mean, the building, the utility building, is whether. Somebody makes a decision of, yeah, whatever we can, that's where it's gonna go, or that's where we're going, or what we're doing, so, yeah.
I mean, there is a roof hatch in the ceiling, interior ceiling, that they need to get up and look at the structure to see what they would need to do to enhance the structure or anything. That
Yeah, I don't
they
know.
can get up there.
I mean,
and
I know
take
they
a
got
look.
the plans and they got the engineering set of plans for the trusses and whatnot and bunch of,
Yeah,
and so I'll go from there.
I mean, it's something we need to take a look at. I mean, anything can work, that, Mike, it's just time and,
It's always,
There's a
money. It
trade-off.
always involves money, don't it?
yeah, and there's a trade-off for everything you do, I mean. But, yeah, I'll be
Okay.
glad, I know Jeremy's talked to Tyler and I've talked to him, to an extent, I mean,
Yeah.
you know.
Right.
So, I
Right.
mean, if they need to, I can give them the engineers, electrical engineers' names, I give them that too, it's right
Sure.
on the plans. So whatever he needs to get it accomplished, and if he lets us know which way he's going.
Yeah, I mean, it ain't their first rodeo either, so it should be something that they should have a plan for here and let us know one way or the other.
Well, Tyler needs to also be taking a look at, I mean, if he is putting it on that roof and we have to have penetrations, I can only get the roofer back there.
Wasn't it these guys, I didn't even look at the utility shed,
Yeah.
cause it was originally bid to just set on the roof, which
Right.
most of us were surprised by. And it was Blue Sky brought up
I don't know if him and Dave got into a conversation. I
They
gave
did.
him Dave's,
Trevor.
yeah, I gave him his, phone number and email.
Yeah.
And, cause I didn't have any plans on that building.
Right.
That was something.
And I looked through mine and my file on that utility building. I didn't have the engineered plans from Wick either, but we paid for the engineer plan, so. He has it now, so he'll have to look it over and see.
Oh, he did get it from
Yeah,
Dave.
he did.
Okay, I guess it's whatever it takes to get her done.
Yeah.
But just wanna stay in touch, make sure we have it coordinated, so if the roofer's gotta come back and flash the things in.
Yeah.
Once the rooftop units.
No
and
doubt,
stuff
they need to
done.
make contact here one way or the other, I mean, no doubt.
And then if he needs some conduits, I can get them, you know, we can get them installed and then see it wrapped on the roof, you know, boots around them, whatever.
Okay, well, we appreciate it and
Thank you.
hope it moves forward.
So, hope. I didn't know I had a
Hope it
choice.
keeps
I didn't have a choice.
Don't have a choice, but, you know.
Oh, yep, we'll stay on them. If you have any questions or
Yeah,
maybe in next month, we ought to plan a walkthrough after
Yeah.
the meeting for everybody.
yeah,
So good. That way I can make sure the contractors get it cleaned up.
There you go.
Thank you.
thanks,
you.
John. All right, I anticipate that Brent is not going to make it.
Yeah.
I guess we'll take a short recess at this time and maybe try to find out. At this time, we will reconvene our meeting and our sheriff, Mr. Brent Kilberg, was not able to make it. He has other commitments today, so. Any other business before the board this morning?
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Meeting adjourned.